right, welcome to the Fire Alarm Masterclass. On today's agenda, we got 10 topics we're going to go through. The first one is we're going to go through the introductory to fire alarm systems. The second one is the role of a fire alarm technician. The third is understanding the licensing process. The fourth one is preparing for the fire alarm license exam. The fifth one is required skills and knowledge for a fire alarm technician. The sixth one is how you can get hands-on experience. Seventh, applying for your fire alarm license. The eighth is fire alarm maintenance and prevention. 9, fire alarm central station. 10, I'm going to show you how you get your license. So bear with me as I switch these screens. So what is a fire alarm system? A fire alarm system is a network of devices and components designed to detect, alert. Can you hear me? Just let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Oh, I see everybody popping in now. What's going on, y'all? Okay, so a fire alarm system is a network of devices and components designed to detect, alert, and respond to fire-related emergencies in a building or facility. Its primary purpose is to protect lives, properties, and assets by providing early warning and facilitating a quick response to fire hazards. The key functions of a fire alarm system is to detect, identify fire conditions, such as smoke, heat, flame, or through sensor detection, notification, alert occupants, emergency responders through audible alarms and visual signals, control devices. It activates safety systems like fire suppression systems, havoc shutdowns, and door release mechanisms, and also monitoring. It tracks the status of the system and communicates with remote monitoring services like the central station so they can call the fire department if the alarm go off. I'll leave a link in the chat at the end of this so you can download this. So this is a typical, let me get this guy out the way. So this would be a typical fire alarm installation setup. This is a Kitty VS4 panel, and on this right side would be your input devices. So this can have 2 loops. This is 1 loop, and this would be a second loop. So you can have 500. You could put up to 1,000 points on this system, but this is showing 250, 500 points. And you could also have your NAC circuits, which is your horns and strobes, sound bases, and things like that. Then you have your graphic designs and also your remote enunciators. And down here, you could put conventional devices. So if you still have, or you're trying to swap out a conventional system and make it addressable, and you don't want to switch all those zones out, you can put this IDC board in there just to get those zones going together. Same thing on this side. These are all your loop cards or your loop devices and your output devices. This right here is a booster panel to give you more power if you need more power to drive the horns and strobes. And this is a basic typical layout. So the data will run out, one wire, 16 wire will run to all of these devices and connect to them all at one time. And these devices will all report back to the CPU that's inside this fire alarm control panel. And any one of these devices go into alarm, it will activate these outputs over here. So here we have fire alarm control panel inputs and output devices. So like I said, a fire alarm control panel will have a combination of input and a combination of output devices. So your initiating devices are devices that will initiate an alarm. Your smoke detectors, your pull stations, your duct detectors, your heat detectors, your thermal devices, your modules, your water flow switches, or any fire alarm modules. Anything that can provide an input signal will then cause the CPU to trigger the alarm and activate the indicating circuits, which is your output. So that could be your horns and strobes, that could be voice announcements. You could have a speaker you may have seen in a building where the voice announcements is going off saying emergency, giving you direction of which way to go, or just telling you to be still. So there's a difference between input and output devices. Input devices initiate the alarms. The output devices will sound the alarm. So here's a typical fire alarm control panel. This is more specific to the Kitty panels. They have different panels out there like Firelight, Notifier, Simplex. There's a bunch of different manufacturers, but more specifically, this is for the Kitty system, and this is VS1 and the VS4 system. So the VS1 handles up to like 64 points. When I say points, I'm talking about smoke detectors, pull stations, and things like that. So you have 64 points you could put on this small system here, and you can put up to, I don't know how many output devices you could put on here, but you can put at least 30 horn strobes on a single circuit on this particular panel here. And this bigger panel here, you can fit up to 1,000 devices. And inside this middle display here is your LED display. So if you have, you say like a high-rise building, you have 10 floors, each one of these labels could represent a floor. So if the alarm go off on, let's say, the 3rd floor, you will map that alarm signal to the LED with that label, so that way the person downstairs watching the control panel will know that that alarm is on the 3rd floor. It would also indicate it on the main control panel as well to give you that display, especially with the addressable systems. This is a typical input device. This is a smoke detector. You can tell it's a smoke detector by, there's a little symbol, you see the O right there. So this LED will be flashing. If it goes active, this LED will flash red. But when it's normal, it polls. They call it polls when it flashes. That's the word. The term is called polling. And what it's doing is it's actually speaking to the CPU, just communicating back and forth, letting them know I'm still here. There's no troubles, or if there are any troubles. So this will flash green approximately every 90 seconds. So each smoke detector, each module, everything that's connected on a data loop will in fact poll every 90 seconds. These are typical initiating devices. Here you would hook up non-intelligent fire alarm devices like a tamper switch, a water flow, anything that cannot directly connect to the fire alarm control panel. So usually a supervisory signal, like I said before, a tamper switch and a water flow, or maybe a non-coded pull station, a non-coded CO detector. So anything that's non-addressable, that's not made by the manufacturer, you can connect it to an input module, so that module could then either go into alarm or cause a supervisory or whatever the point type, or whatever it is you're trying to do with the fire alarm control panel. These are your typical manual pull stations. We have 2 types of pull station. We have a single action pull station, meaning this lever, once you, where it says pull in case of fire, then it has that little lever right there. Once you pull it, it activates right away. So this will be a single action pull station. This square pull station over here, this is called a dual action pull station, because it takes 2 steps in order for this pull station to go active. What you have to do is you have to lift this handle up, and then you have to pull the lever down. This takes 1 step, this takes 2 steps. So depending on the operation, if you're in New York City or if you're upstate New York, you would have to use either a single step or a dual pull station, depending on the classification from the fire department. You could ask the fire department or the installer, but typically the metal ones with a stripe, you're good. If you use the metal ones with a stripe, then you're good, because the stripe indicates that it's connected to a central station. Here we have duct detectors. Now, these are installed on the HVAC unit, the unit, for lack of words. So what do is any debris, duct, that's traveling through the ductwork, smoke, anything that's traveling through the ductwork, there are 2 sampling tubes that connect to this duct detector, and it goes all the way to the back of the AC. And what it does is it has holes facing the way the airflow is. So if the air is flowing this way, the holes will be facing in the way the airflow is going. So if there's any particles that's going in this direction, it'll go into the sampling tube, travel up the sampling tube, get inside this chamber, and if this chamber gets any dirt, because it's just a light in here, so if that photo light get blocked up by any light, then this alarm light right here that you see right here will illuminate red, go into alarm, shut down the fans, and now you got to go find out and see what's going on with the alarm system. And usually these are all the way up in the ceiling, most difficult device to get to, because they probably like 12 feet in the air. You need a ladder to get to, or they probably have a drop ceiling. You have no idea where they are. So usually we will put a remote LED on the ceiling, so that way above, at least three feet from that location. So there are different types of fire alarm systems. Even now, there's still some conventional fire alarm systems out there. When I say conventional, these are like zone systems, maybe like a 4-zone system. One zone would have all smokes, the other zone would have all pull stations, the other zone would have, supervisory or whatever. But they'll have a very small system on a conventional side, then they'll have an addressable system, and they also have a wireless hybrid system. Now, the only system that I know of that doing a wireless is Firelight is the only company I know that's out there doing wireless. So the other larger companies, I'm not sure if Edwards, I'm not sure if Notify, maybe they are. I have no idea if they are, but I don't think that, I may be speaking out of turn, but I have to find out if it's even approved by the fire department to even use a wireless fire alarm system. But they do offer it. You can install it. I know in Long Island is perfectly fine, but I'm not sure about how it is in New York. I'll find that. I have to find that one out. So here's a fire alarm system. This, let's say for argument, this is a 2-zone system with one NAC. You will have all of your pull stations on one zone with an end of line resistor, so that way it could supervise that zone, and you will have another zone with all your smoke detectors with an end of line resistor. So when these devices go short, because that's all it's really doing, like a light switch turning on and off. So once this go into alarm, then this output will, these horns and strobes will then turn on. There's no programming, no laptop programming really involved with this, except to set up the central station and send the signals to the center. But other than that, there's really no real programming you have to do. Just put the labels on the zones and match the zones with the outputs, and pretty much that's it. But these systems are still out there. You may still see these systems out there today. And here we have an addressable fire alarm system. Now, these are more, what do I want to say, more direct. You know exactly where the actual alarm is. So if this pull station is on the second floor, by second floor electric room 201, you'll know exactly where this pull station is. Or if this smoke detector is on the first floor elevator lobby, you know that is in front of the elevator. So an addressable systems give you more information, more details. You could put more devices on one piece of cable, and you could expand the system much larger than a conventional system. And you could have multiple NACs, much more logic involved. You can have pull stations do door release, and smoke detectors, fans, and stair pressurization. You can have a bunch of different functions when it comes to an addressable fire alarm system. So now we have some of the output functions on a fire alarm system. When a smoke detector, an area, let's say it right, when an area smoke detector go off, you will have fan shutdown, you will have door release, and you could also have stair pressurization. If you have an elevator lobby smoke detector, or smoke detector in elevator shaft, or smoke detector in the EMR room, then you will have elevator recall or alternate or shunt, any one of them elevator actions when you have a specific elevator smoke detector to set this specific relay off. If you have water flow, will do all of these devices. A pull station will only release the doors. A pull station won't shut the fans down or recall the elevators or release their pressurization. Only automatic devices will elevator recall, fan shutdown, door release, and stair pressurization. Manual activation, just door release. Manual activations are pull stations only is a manual activation. So that would be the only point type that will release the doors. But the automatic, like I said, ducts, smokes, is going to do more functions. So when an elevator recalls, you have an elevator lobby smoke detector that will be in front of that elevator. I think the max distance is about 20 feet you could have from in front of the elevator. Then you will have smoke detectors in the elevator machine room, whether it be the basement or the roof. You would also have a smoke detector. They will use, more than likely it'll be a heat detector inside of the elevator shaft at the top, and you will have a smoke detector in the pit at the bottom. So those are the only areas where a smoke detector will activate the relay for elevator recall. However, it's a water flow. If it's a water flow, then it will also activate the elevator recall. I was thinking quickly of another point type, but it's just water flows in the pull station. Then you have duct detectors as well that will also activate the elevator recall. So when it comes to door release, manual activations, such as manual pull stations, will activate that relay so you can hit that door release. Or if you have access control in the building where they're using key fobs and key swipes to get through sensitive areas or through just controlled areas or just areas that you need to get to work, whatever area of egress that leads you out of the building, those doors will be released. So like a computer room, no, that's not going to be released. A safe room, no, it's going to stay locked. Those doors will stay locked because those are safe, secure rooms. So you want to fail safe type of lock in order for you to get out, or for it to be provided rest for you to get out of the building. So an automatic device, water flow, smoke detector, duct detector, it's going to release those doors so you get out the building. If somebody's walking past because they see fire somewhere and they hit the manual pull station, that's also going to release those doors to get you up out the building. Then we have fan shutdown. So if you have fans in the building, anything over 2,000 CFMs is what they call them, is what the HVAC guys call them. Now the CFMs is how I could explain is how strong the fan will actually blow, right? So if it's more than 2,000 CFMs, we have to install a duct detector. Now, where we have to install a duct detector is 3 feet from the penetration of the ceiling. So if they putting these ducts on the ceiling and then they have to drill through the ceiling to run the ducts throughout the building, 3 feet from that penetration is your first duct detector. And if it's branching off to different floors, you have to also put a duct detector for each and every branch. But if you put a duct right at the beginning, then you may get away with not putting duct detectors on each branch, because you want to know if there's any dust, dirt, smoke, whatever's going on inside those ducts. You want to know what's happening. So fan shutdown is very important, so that way you don't spread the smoke. If there's any fire in the building, fans are shut down to prevent smoke from actually going into different areas. You want to cut the oxygen. You take away one of the properties, you can put the fire out. So if you don't contribute to spreading it, you could contain it in one particular area. And then there's stair pressurization. Stair pressurization is very important, right? So let's say if there is a fire in the building, the only way to get out of the building is not by the elevators. You do not take the elevators. What you do is you take the stairs. And what they do is they pressurize the stairs with huge exhaust fans. So if there's any smoke inside of the stairs, the fans will shut down, but now the huge exhaust fans will kick in, will turn on, and then it will purge all of the smoke out of the stairs, so that way you can safely go through the stairs and get out of the building. So that's what stair pressurization is for. It's good to see these things live in action. It is really cool to see these things in live in action, to see how the smoke will actually leave the stairwell when the exhaust fans actually kick in. So now the difference between an input and an output device over here is CT2, which is a dual input module. So if you have a sprinkler and a tamper switch or together, or if you have two different types of point types that you want to put together, you can use a CT2. This is also a CT1 for a single point type, and this is a relay. So relays are to control things. You can shut the fan down, you can shut the elevators off, you could turn lights on. This will provide either additional power to something or take away power from something to shut it off. What the output relays do. And the output relays is what connects to all of those other output functions from the HVAC guy or from the plumbing guy or from the elevator guy. We connect this fire alarm relay to their equipment so we can interrupt their equipment and shut it down when the fire alarm system goes. So more about fire alarm input devices. This is going to be redundant because this is what make up the system. So smoke detectors are initiating device types, and monitor modules are also initiating device types that will connect either water flow or tamper switches or any non-intelligent device that you can actually connect to a module to make the fire alarm system do whatever it is you want it to do on the output side. According to the specifications, if you're doing any program, you're really going to be looking at the drawings, seeing what the sequence of operation is, and then really following that. But most cases, these systems are not designed, unless you're doing high-rise type of buildings and large public assemblies, these systems don't really get too tricky. So these are also fire alarm output devices. We went over the control relays that's going to shut down fans, elevators, and things like that. Then you have your horns and strobes. Then you also have NAC output modules. So if you're doing any additional, if you have to do some retrofits and you want to install some more NAC circuit or horns and strobes on a particular circuit, and let's say the fire alarm control panel is too far away, you could put in a NAC module in order to actually connect those horns and strobes to this module. This module then connect to data, send the information over data. That's how you could activate those outputs. When I get a job to install, not even a job, a lead, or they want to get their system installed, the first thing we do is I go out there with my engineer, we go look at the building so I could see the type of building it is actually, so we could figure out what type of classification depending on the type of business. So let's say if it's a retail space, then we know it's going to be a mercantile. So if it's a mercantile, then we design a system a certain type of way. If it's an office space, we design a system a different type of way. If it's a medical space, then we will design it that particular way. So depending on the specification is how we will design the system. Then after we figure out how we're going to design the system, the engineer at this point, he will then prepare fire alarm drawings. I got to show you this, but next time he'll prepare fire alarm drawings. He'll submit the TM1 application. The owner has to sign it, and then once he submit the application with the fire alarm drawings, we submit that to the fire department and pay the fees. Once it gets to the fire department, Tech management will then take a look at it. Then it will go over to the plan executive, to the plan examiner. Then the plan examiner will look at the drawings and say if the system that we're submitting is given the minimum standard or minimum qualifications or the minimum fire alarm system for that particular application, he will approve it. If not, he will disapprove it and then make comments. He'll say either add more devices, or your wiring gauge was not right, or you don't have enough protection. Whatever the objection is, we have to make the correction, correct it, and resubmit. But if everything is good to go, we get the stamp of approval. Once we get that stamp of approval, that is our permit to start the fire alarm system. Most companies out there, before they submit the job, they're already doing the system. So you don't want to do that. You want to get the approval to make sure that the fire department don't make any changes on your design. So once you get the approval, that stamp is solid. Now you install the system, put the system in, do your pre-test, connect it to your central station, make sure all of your devices work, everything reports back to the central station. You call up the fire department, have them come out, give you a final test, and if everything passed right away, you get your letter of recommendation right there on the spot. You get open for business. You're not going to be mad at the fire alarm company because you didn't pass, and you can make your money because now your business is open. So that is typically the steps of how you would actually go through an entire fire alarm process. Now, a small system, I did a small system in Brooklyn, 7 devices. That took 18 months just to do, not even to install the system, but just to make sure the paperwork was ready, just to go on back and forth with the city, getting the drawings approved, getting the design right. Electrician needed to run the main power from the outside to the inside. So whatever needs to happen there from that part, beyond me. So there's a lot of things that you have to do, a lot of things you got to stay on top of. So now, the reason why you want to maintain, or you want to tell your customer to maintain their system properly, or it's going to cost them a lot of money. If their system is always in trouble, and fire department make random stops and they want to give you fines, and these fines are hefty, $5,000. You got to spend time, come to court. Then they call the fire alarm company to help them write letters against these violations and things like that, when they could just get a maintenance plan. Most of our clients have maintenance plans, so we give them a yearly package. Really, they're locked in for 10 years. So if you read the contract, you'll understand that you locked it for 10 years. So you get a yearly package where it will cover 2 inspections, one every 6 months. It includes the fire alarm monitoring, and it also includes service, but you have to pay for the service if you call us for service, but it includes service. The only thing that we don't include is parts. So if there's a material or smoke detector that breaks or something like that, you have to pay for that. But generally, we'll come out there 2 times a year, clean your smoke detector, test it each and every year just to make sure that there's no troubles. And if there's any troubles, usually we don't even charge you for it. We'll just clean it up, fix it right away, put your system back to normal, and go on about our day. So you have to maintain your system properly. A lot of people neglect that and don't want to do that, and it's going to cost them a lot of money in the end. It benefits me, and it benefits the fire alarm company when they're negligent when fixing their system. So now we get to the central station. A fire alarm system connects to a central station. That central station is monitoring 24 hours, 7 days a week. There are 3 shifts at this central station, and there's always somebody sitting there at that computer with the headphones on, waiting for a signal to come in so they could immediately call the fire department if they need to get them out there. Or if we're doing burglar alarm system, to get the police out there. But for this case, it's just fire alarm. So central station is there all day, 24/7. And the way our central station works, let's say if we do receive a false alarm, what we do is we'll try to call you. Most people don't answer their phone, so we'll send you a text. And all you got to do is press 1 for dispatch, press 2 to cancel. So most times, if we don't get you on the phone, we're going to send you a text message. You could just hit 102 to either send the fire department or not. So that way we could reduce false alarms, and we don't just be sending the fire department out there for no reason. So now if you want to get into the fire alarm industry, you're going to need this piece of paper here, and this is your fire alarm license. So we have a course called the Fire Alarm Business Blueprint. Inside of that is the License Navigator, which is the second module inside that course. That module is focused on helping you get in your fire alarm license. You practice exams, going over all the modules that's within this 81-hour course. You're still going to have to take this 81-hour course because the Metropolitan Burglar and Fire Alarm Association is registered with the New York State. We are in the process of getting that done so everything could be done through us. But for the most part, we're going to give you the tools that you need to actually have that confidence to go take that 81-hour course. It's a Saturday and Sunday. They usually do it somewhere in a hotel in Queens somewhere. So you just had to sit up Saturday and Sunday for like 12 hours each day, fill up the 81 hours, go through 5 different modules, and then you take a test at the end of that. Once you pass that test, then you can go and take the state exam and open up the doors for that. And if you pass the state exam, send up your fingerprints, send up the application, send up your fees, and you get your license. This right here helps you out, especially in the industry. You can still be a technician with your license. Owners may look at you funny. They used to look at me funny when they found out I heard about me having my license. They just, I guess, felt competition. But listen, man, you're working in McDonald's, man, you got to get the paperwork. I don't care where you're working at. Get your paperwork, get the whatever experience you have to get in whatever field you're in. So get all the paperwork you need in whatever it is you do. You want to separate yourself from everyone else and anyone else. You have to be better than the next person. If you're not, they're just going to take the money from you. And we ain't trying to have that. This is just over the last 10 years, boots to the grass, a lot of grinding. What we did over the past 10 years from year 1 all the way up to now. We still here. We got to get up and work, because if we don't, the ship is going to sink. So we got to get up and get it. And every time we get it, we just have to make smart decisions. You got to make sure we pay the employees. You got to make sure you pay your taxes. You got to make sure you pay your contractors. You got to make sure you pay everybody. I'm usually the last one to actually eat out the pie once everybody else get everybody get their piece. But regardless of the fact, I still eat. Everybody else is happy. I'm happy living. I can pretty much do shit whatever I want. Just at times you need tough. It's a struggle being an entrepreneur. It's a struggle having your business, unless you have your resources, unless you have the full back-end team, because most fire alarm companies are way larger than me. They have about 10 to 15 guys, so they could do more service calls, they could do more installs. But I found where my niche is at. My niche is in government. And when it comes to government, I'm going to clean up on Central Station. Central Station is easy for me to do. One person, go there, either change out the communicator, or I just reprogram their panel, point it to my Central Station. Every 30 days I get paid, or every year I get paid, or every 6 months I get paid. And also clean up when it comes to service contracts. So I don't have to do installs to compete with the big companies. All I have to do is clean up my RMR. So once my RMR gets good enough on a monthly basis, that's when you coast. Because if the money is passive, I really don't have to go and search for everything else. I could sit back and grow my business organically without being overwhelmed. I know we all want to get rich yesterday, but it takes time. The idea is what makes you rich, and execution is what leads you to the bag. So the Fire Alarm Business Blueprint is the most clearest program. It's a non-step program that'll get you from not knowing how to start a fire alarm company to actually having your own fire alarm company, with also the tools to get your license. Inside of it, there's a brand architect to show you how you can actually develop your personal brand through social media. So if you're a little shy, don't want to get in front of the camera, there's ways to do it. If you're not shy, you want to learn how to create content, there's also ways to learn how to do it. Just got to watch and see what's going on out there, and pretty much just go out there and try it. Nobody gonna laugh at you. And it did take me some time to actually turn on the camera, but once I found out that you don't care, then you just got to come up with the same energy. So the Fire Alarm Business Blueprint, this will help you. This will actually show you how you can actually form your fire alarm company in 90 days. So if you're a technician, electrician, any type of skills trade, have a conversation and we can get this thing going. And if you ain't following me on YouTube, you get a lot more information on YouTube. I give a lot more value on YouTube. I try to do it much here, but there's so much I could do in like seconds. Can't really express too much in 60 seconds. So I try to do as best as I can to grab the attention, and then do these workshops on Sundays to give you guys some information, maybe another direction you could be going other than the direction you're going now. Not sure. So this is my contact. You can hit the website. Got a store the website. You could use my code. I don't even know. That's fucked up. I think it's secure 20 or SIS 10 or Syscorp 30. I don't know. Try those combinations. Next week I'll have some coupons, some free giveaways or something. But this is the office line. This office line actually changes 6. But this is the email if you want to get at me, all the social medias, whatever. You got any questions, you could DM me, send me an email, visit the website, hit the chat bot, things like that. All right, let's see what we got going on here. All right, my peoples, man. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you for sitting with me for 43 minutes and almost 30 seconds. I really appreciate y'all, man. Each one teach one, and we're going to figure this thing out all together. So if you want to join the Fire Alarm Business Blueprint, yo, shoot me a DM, all right? If you got any questions also, shoot me a DM. I really appreciate all of y'all. All right? Peace out.